All right. Hello. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kristen Fleming, and I am the Regional Education and Training Coordinator for the Alzheimer's Disease Caregiver Support Initiative. I have a few new faces today, so I am just quickly going to go over a little bit about our program. So we have a grant from the New York State Department of Health to provide services for caregivers of anyone any form of memory loss or dementia. It doesn't have to be Alzheimer's disease. And we cover 6 counties. They are Clinton, Franklin, Essex, Warren, Washington, and Hamilton counties. Our overall goal is to improve quality of life of caregivers and people living with Alzheimer's disease or dementia. We offer a variety of services, including care consultations, which are individual meetings with caregivers and our care navigators. And they can provide strategies to help you, connect you to other community resources. They're a really wonderful asset to our team. We also offer education and training. So that's me. I offer the webinars. Like you, as you know, we're doing a series right now. I also have individual presentations that I can do with either families or groups or individuals. And we have something called the CARES training, which is an online training that you do at your own pace. It's got videos and readings and questions to answer. And I should mention that all of our programming right now is happening virtually, either over Zoom or just on the regular telephone. So we are not doing any in-person meetings right now because of COVID. So everything that I do happens over Zoom. I'm doing support groups over the phone or over Zoom where you are able to call in and chat with other caregivers who are going through a similar situation to you. You know, everyone's journey is a little different, but there's a lot of similarities. And support groups are one of the programs that I hear the most from caregivers that it's the most helpful, that they really, they really appreciate having an opportunity to talk to other caregivers who are in the same boat, they can get strategies, tips from each other. They can compare different stages that they're in and say, oh, you know, when I was in that stage, this is how I handled it. It worked really well. Maybe give that a try. It's a really great program. Then we also do memory cafes. Now, these are really fun. They're social events. So sometimes I'll have a musician. Sometimes we'll do craft projects where I deliver all of the supplies to complete the craft to your home. And then you and your loved one get on Zoom together and do the craft or listen to the musician. And it's just another way to connect to other people, especially right now. This time, many caregivers are telling me that they feel very isolated and they aren't able to connect with their friends and their family the same way they used to because they're afraid of getting COVID. So they're staying home, which is definitely the safest option, but they're isolated and they need things to do. We also offer respite. So we will actually pay a little bit of money to give you an occasional break as needed. So once you're approved, you would get a certain number of hours, and it's really up to you how you want to use them. If you want to use, 1 hour a week so you can go have lunch or get a cup of coffee or get your hair done, whatever it is you want to do. Or if you want to save them all for, maybe you have a weekend where you want to go to a wedding or a family reunion or something, you can use them all in that weekend. It's really a wonderful program. You also get say in who your respite provider is. So if you have a friend or a family member that you're comfortable with having them come into your home to take care of your loved one, we're happy to have them fill out the paperwork and to be an approved respite provider for you. If you don't have anyone, though, don't let that stop you from signing up. We have a list of any of respite providers and other agencies that you could use as well. And then lastly, I want to talk about Project Lifesaver. So this is a bracelet that your loved one would wear because a lot of times people with dementia will wander. You will, even the most diligent caregivers will go to the bathroom or take a shower, or in the middle of the night they'll be asleep and then they wake up or they get out of the bathroom and they don't know where their loved one is. So you would look around for 10 minutes or so in your backyard, check over at your neighbor's house, see if you can find your loved one. And if you can't, you would call the emergency services, and the sheriff's department has a wand that they wave that allows them to locate your loved one. It's very reliable. It's old school technology. It's not a GPS. It uses radio waves, but it's very, very reliable, and it's actually a nationwide program. So let's say you're on vacation in Florida, you would be able to use this. Um, it's a really great program, and it gives a lot of caregivers peace of mind. Even if they never use it, it's nice to know that if there was to be an emergency, they would know what to do, and there would be a program in place to help them. There is no income eligibility to enroll. All of our services are free. They're open to the public. You just have to be a caregiver for someone with memory loss and dementia. And that's it. So before I dive into my presentation about staying connected during COVID-19, I do just want to let you all know that you are in a listen only mode. So I cannot see or hear you. However, if you have questions, feel free to type them into either the chat box or the Q&A box. I am happy to answer questions either throughout the presentation or at the end. I'm used to doing these in person, and so we used to turn it into more of a conversation, and I could chat with people about that. So I like to be able to answer questions as we go. So if anyone has any questions about our program, feel free to type them into the chat box now. If not, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Excuse me. So staying connected during the pandemic. The CDC has released guidelines to prevent the spread for COVID-19 in nursing homes, throughout the public as well, in community care facilities. So this guidance is for the health and safety of residents and of individuals. It's important if you have a loved one in a nursing home to know the facility and community's current visitation policy, so that you are able to visit them if you can. If you have to get tested, if they have different regulations, you know what to do so that you're able to go and visit them when you can. And if visitors are not permitted, this can be very difficult for both the resident and the family. Same with if you are still caring for your loved one at home and you're not able to have extended family come and visit you. Maybe they're used to helping you out, giving you a little bit of that respite break, or maybe they're used to seeing your loved one on a regular basis and seeing how they're doing. This can be really hard for families. So you want to find out what other ways there are to stay in touch with your loved one. If you are doing a virtual visit, either with a loved one in a nursing home or with maybe an extended family member who is calling in to see your loved one, you want to schedule it in advance for the best time of day for you and for your loved one. You think about your routine, what schedule you normally follow, and what the best time of day for your loved one is. With Alzheimer's disease and with dementia, a lot of times caregivers will deal with sundowning. So as the sun starts to set in the late afternoon, early evening, it can be a lot harder for their loved ones to focus and pay attention and have a successful visit, just because I think it's mostly because they're tired. They've had a long, busy day, and so it can be more challenging. We start to see more dementia-related behaviors come out. So maybe the morning or the early afternoon would be a better time, not during a meal time, though, sometime where they'll be able to focus to this call. Ensure that your loved one has glasses and hearing aids if worn. You want to make sure that they're able to see and hear the person that they're talking to. And consider planning an activity. So a lot of times, people with dementia, they have a hard time with these conversations. It can be hard for them to answer questions or hold a conversation. So by planning an activity, it eliminates any kind of awkward silences or any difficulty with communicating, some ideas you could try are listening to music together, especially if you're listening to some of their favorite songs from when they were younger. You could create a slideshow of pictures, maybe of their kids or their grandkids or of a family vacation you went on and look at the pictures together. Could attend a virtual event together. So, like my memory cafes that I'm offering. There's also a lot of great resources online. I know Senior Planet is doing virtual exercise classes and other virtual programming. There's a lot of virtual museum tours and storytelling classes that are happening online as well. So look out for those community events and attend those virtually. And also play a game together. You anything from something as simple as playing hangman and using simple words or card games. There's also a lot of websites where you can play games together, depending on the stage of dementia that your loved one is at. Maybe you could find a website where you can play cards together online, or Words with Friends, or there's House Party where you can play different games together too. So look out for those resources, and do an activity with them. It's an enjoyable way to spend an afternoon. So if you are looking to buy a computer or a tablet or a phone or some kind of device for your loved one to be able to communicate with you, either from their nursing home, from their home if they're still living independently, maybe from your home if they live with you, to your other friends and family members out of town, want to think about what device is right for you. So you want to find a device that you feel capable of setting up without difficulty. There are some devices that are very, very user-friendly and easy to set up. There are others that are more challenging. So look at the ratings and reviews. There are also some devices where you will actually include it in that someone will call you on the phone and help you set it up themselves. So that's a great feature if you're not great with technology yourself and you want to make sure that it's something that's easy for you to set up. You want to look for devices that have accessibility settings, larger fonts if you're reading, maybe pictures for the buttons as well, different sound levels, you can hear it very easily as well. Look at if they have hearing aid compatibility. For some of them, it could go directly from the screen into the hearing aid. For others, that's not an option. So something to consider if your loved one does use a hearing aid. You want to look at the pricing structure, especially there might be one device, but there are several different models, like an iPad, for example. That's something that people are very familiar with, but there's different models of iPads, the newer ones, the older ones, different size screens. So understand the pricing structure, find one that fits within your budget, but also has the features that you want and need in order to use it successfully. And review warranty options before you buy. You want to find out what the warranty actually covers. Sometimes you might opt in for a warranty, and then a year later the device breaks and you find out, oh, that isn't actually covered in this warranty that I've been paying into every month. So find out what the warranty options are, what they cover. Is it going to be worth it for you to buy the warranty, or are you better off without it? It's really weighing the pros and cons there. Now I'm going to go through a few different devices that you might want to consider if you are looking for something for your loved one to use. The first one is the GrandPad, and according to Caring.com, this is the overall best tablet for seniors. The setup is fully assisted by a representative. They call you up on the phone and talk you through the setup from beginning to end. It has a very large screen and interface. You can see that on the picture there. It's very easy to read, very user-friendly. There are remote caregiver administrative tools. So let's say your loved one does not live with you, you would be able to check in on them, use the admin tools features from anywhere. It has a built-in wireless connectivity through consumer cellular. There's no Wi-Fi required. It's small and easy to hold, and it runs about $200. Next one that I want to talk about is Amazon Fire 7. Now this is the best tablet under $100. It actually runs only $65, so it's much more affordable than the past one. It has limited features, but sometimes that's not a bad thing. It keeps it very simple for you or your loved one to use. The show mode uses larger images and magnified text, so it's easier to see. It can be used to control Amazon smart home devices, such as the Amazon Alexa. If you have one of those, you can pair it. And it has a small 7-inch screen, which is still big enough for you to see. And sometimes a smaller screen is nice because you can hold it easily. The iPad, this is rated the best tablet for the visually impaired. It uses an HD Retina display with high pixel density. So supposedly that's the best screen. It's very easy to read and to see. There's a fingerprint reader, so your loved one wouldn't have to remember a password. They could just hold their finger down on the button. Its accessibility features make display items larger, and there are hearing aids you can buy that are compatible with Apple products, including the iPad. You can also use Siri voice assistant. So your loved one could say, hey Siri, call whoever, or FaceTime whoever, and it would automatically call. And the price, this one is much more expensive. It's about $330. But if you or your loved one uses iPhones, sometimes I do recommend using the iPad because it's much easier. The buttons are very similar. They work in similar ways. So it's easier to learn how to use an iPad than a tablet, which is totally different. The Microsoft Surface Go. This was rated the best tablet for Windows users. So if your loved one is used to using computers and they're familiar with Windows, many people are familiar with Windows, then this might be a good option for you. It has a built-in kickstand. So it's nice. You don't have to hold it in your hands all the time. You can just prop it up on a table and have a conversation with your loved one. The display settings to aid visual impairment and eye strain. It also has a voice assistant, but it's much more expensive. It's almost $400. So it's an option for you. Now, this is the Amazon Echo Show, and I think this is incredible. So it is a tablet and a smart speaker with a screen. So you would set up the speaker in your home, and it has, or your loved one's home, and it has a drop-in feature. So your loved one would not have to answer the phone if they're living alone or if someone's calling them. You could just drop in and you would just show up on the screen and be able to talk to them. It's voice enabled with Alexa, just like the Amazon Fire, but it may be difficult to set up. It can be a little more complicated than some of the other tablets that we've talked about. And there's a wide price range here. It's between $90 and $230. So you want to find out what each of those models includes and which one has the features that you are looking for. Other ways to stay connected. So maybe these tablets and smartphones and Zoom, this stuff is not for you. Well, what else can you do? You could have just regular phone calls, talk to your loved one. And also if you are caring for your loved one, and let's say you have extended family members, you can stay in touch with them through the regular phone calls. Let them know how your loved one is doing from day to day, give them any updates on medical appointments, how they went, and also just to have a strong care team, even if they're not in person, just by talking over the phone. You Could also record videos and slideshows and send them to your loved one, or have your family members record videos from all over, and then you could play the video for your loved one. I'm sure they would really appreciate seeing faces of, their kids or grandkids or whoever. Writing letters and cards, seems old-fashioned. Not many people are writing letters today, but I always love getting a letter or a card in the mail, and I'm sure your loved ones are no different. So write them a letter or have your extended family write them letters. Play games online together. I already mentioned that, but I think it can be a really fun way to stay in touch. My family during COVID has been doing a lot of game nights. They live in New Hampshire, so I haven't been able to see them as often as, normally I would go every month or so to visit them for a weekend. But now I've been doing these Zoom game nights with them where we'll play categories or Jackbox games. And my dad, who has dementia, he usually will join in, especially if we're doing categories or a game. He's kind of in the earlier stages. So if we're doing a game where he can participate, he loves trivia. So that's an option as well. You can think outside the box. There are people that are getting very creative with these drive-by parties. You could have someone decorate your windows or signs. You can ask others to check in with your loved one too. And AARP actually has a program that's called the Friendly Voices program. This really allows has someone else call on a regular basis to just chat with your loved one and talk to them about anything they want to talk about, whether it's their past, their family, their friends. It's just nice to know that there's someone else who's going to be checking in with your loved one. So if you want to sign them up, you can do that on the AARP's website. If you just go to aarpcommunityconnections.org/friendly voices. Now that brings me to the end of my presentation. Are there any questions? Feel free to type those into the Q&A box or the chat box. And I'll wait just a minute or two. While I'm waiting to see if there are any questions, I do have a couple of housekeeping notes. So normally I have a book that I give out with all of my presentations, as well as the slides. So unfortunately with this presentation, I don't have a book yet. COVID's so new and this presentation is brand new. This is only the second time I'm giving it. So I haven't found a book that really goes with it, but if you are interested in just getting the slides, I'm happy to send those to you. This is part of a webinar series that I'm doing. So every Monday for 6 weeks, we are meeting at 1 o'clock to talk about a different topic related to caregiving. Next week, let's flip my calendar. Next week, we're going to be talking about health and hygiene for caregivers. So if that's something you're interested in learning more about, be sure to sign up for that webinar. I'll be emailing all of the participants today. I'm also recording this webinar and it will be on our website in about a week or two. So if you want to be able to share this with somebody else, you will be able to do so. It will be on our website in about a week or two. I have a couple of other programs that I want to let you know about. The first one is Coffee Chats about senior health. So every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m., Christina Bettinelli and I are getting on Zoom and chatting with other caregivers or other seniors about different topics related to health. We have guest speakers who come in and talk with us as well. And then she works for the Cancer Services Program. I work for the Alzheimer's Disease Caregiver Support Initiative. So we also will talk about our programs as well. So if any of those sound interesting to you, feel free to let me know and I can certainly send you the Zoom links. The information is also on our website and on our Facebook page. Well, if there are no questions, I want to thank you all for coming to my presentation today. This was a shorter one, only a half an hour, but I hope you still got some valuable information from it and enjoyed it. And I hope to see you next week. Take care, everyone.